Hello YouTube. I have been a little bit offline here for the last month because I've been on the road in Europe with Bill Evans' band, with Keith Carlock he's out with Toto this summer, Steely Dan, Sting on drums, a killer bass player named Pablo Contreras, and Bill. That was night 8 of the 9 gigs that we played. And I'm here to talk about gig 7, night 7 of the gigs we played, and a typical little head game that Bill and I both found ourselves kind of lapsing into. We did 6 nights. We played in Germany twice. We played 2 nights in London. These are all sold out. Then we went to a gig in Napoli, 2 gigs in Milan, and then we played in Malmo, Sweden. The performance at the top was from the gig in Malmo. And we're sitting there and it's like, God, everything just feels great. You know, these are great gigs. People were loving it. Everything's cool. And then the second night in Milan, you know, and this is something that happens, like musicians are a little bit neurotic this way. I at least am like, gee, this is all so great. It can't go on. Something in my brain says, you know, this is too good. So we get out there the second night in Milan, and it might have been because that was, you know, 2 nights in the same place. We start to play, and it just isn't, I don't feel my flow is happening the way that it should happen. I'm going to do a YouTube one of these days about what are you thinking when you play, because the truth is you're not even thinking. If you're, you know, whatever frontal cortex is in it too much, you're putting something like a policeman between what you know and what you feel and what's coming out your hands. So we're playing, and I just felt a little hesitant and a little stilted. And then we get that well-known thing that most musicians know. It typically happens to me once a tour, where it's like, oh, gee, this isn't like my usual well-oiled machine isn't happening tonight. I better rein it in a little bit and play stuff that I know I can execute, instead of, you know, getting out there and going for it. And now you've really got yourself in a bind, because now you've really got the policeman is in there, and it's like, gee, I got to get through this gig with, you know, with my, basically what it amounts to is my tiredest shit. So I was a little struck by that. And I got off, and you know, this happens to almost every musician on a tour. You get off the stage and somebody will say, man, you guys, I'm sorry. I just couldn't get anything going tonight. And I don't usually like to say stuff like that, because in a way I feel like that's kind of baking it in. But I knew I didn't want to let that take root, and I sure as hell didn't want that happening. We had 2 more gigs, the gig in Malmo and a final gig near Bologna. So I wanted to shake myself out of that brownout that I had. So I got to the gig early for the 8th gig, the one in Malmo. Got there an hour early. I usually get to these things early. I like to get there before everybody else gets there and just get myself warmed up. I have a particular way, and this is what I'm going to show you today, of limbering up the ideas, getting my fingers out of their habits, and making sure that I'm as ready to improvise as I can. So, if there's any stuff, I have the gig memorized, but if there's stuff that I'm not playing that great, I go over that, I twiddle with my sounds and so forth. So what I do, the solo in question is in B minor, and you hear that it's burning along at a pretty good tempo. What I want to do to shake myself out of it, I want to go visit all 12 pentatonic scales over the B minor. I did a lesson on this. It's called Solo Like Brecker, and we talked about two of these in B minor. The two that we talked about would be B flat minor and C minor. Super wrong pentatonics to be playing on a B minor. They sound like this and this. But as places to visit and create some tension, they're great. And what I felt like I needed to do was shake myself out of my most familiar stuff that I sort of lapsed into on that gig. It's funny because Bill said that he had the same thing where, it's like, did I improvise or did I just, execute my stuff? So what I do, I have my Logic practice template. I'm going to clean this thing up and put it out, probably not for all that much money, but it's got a bunch of funk grooves. I have 30 different bass lines in there. I use it all the time when I'm teaching on my Skype lessons. It also has like a bunch of swing grooves and bass lines that you can transpose around, and you can speed the tempo up and slow it down, put your own bass line in if there's a tune that you need to learn. So I put it on kind of burning at 140, I think is the tempo that I was using. And I play and I visit all 12 of the pentatonics. I'm going to put it up and play with it, but and I try to play, a good flowing line. That time I inserted a bunch of C minor pentatonic in it. I'll visit C sharp minor. When I do that one, I like to play C sharp minor sixth and kind of voice it as like a B minor major 7. It's a good way to freshen up the texture so we're not just grinding away on B minor. D minor. E flat minor is an interesting one. Doesn't get much wronger than that, especially because I like to play E flat minor 6. That one is interesting. In my head, I'm playing D altered to G major 7. So and G major 7 is similar enough to B minor that those cadences, that's how I get back in, is I'm playing what I would play if I was playing D7 altered to G major 7, but it's just all happening over the B minor. E minor, I found an interesting thing while I was working with the E minor. Sometimes I like to just visit that too as a way of taking the harmony somewhere other than just B minor, kind of a E minor. I found that. You know, take it out a little bit by playing G over B instead of B minor, and then resolve it to like you know, an A flat minor pentatonic scale, A flat minor 6 I like, and B flat minor 2, and just kind of voice an open fifths thing down here. But the right hand is implying that suddenly we're doing a major thing on it. And a good bass player catches that. To be honest, they could keep cranking away on B minor and we would be fine. The point is that when I do this, whatever the key is, I find my hand contorting itself in ways that are not familiar to me, and that's what I'm after. You know, I'm making weird shapes. When I do this, I don't, you know, I look at it as visiting all 12 of the pentatonics, but if you look at any of those lines, you'll see a lot of chromatic information in there. I like the thought of the pentatonics because they sort of establish a clear I'm outside thing. Let me burn on this a little bit. It's going to be kind of ugly, but the point is that it's ugly. I'll try to get to all 12 keys without getting too boring. And I'm looking to make new shapes, shake myself out of my tired B minor stuff, and get to the gig feeling fresher and more ready to improvise. That thing that we heard was gig 8, and I would say I was about halfway out of my vapor lock, as I like to put it, when I took that solo. Night 9, I felt fully limbered up again and ready. You know, I felt like my mind was expanded, but I did the same thing there too. So let's listen to a little bit of my fairly ugly practicing, but me trying to shake myself out of my rut. Okay, I'm going to start up my play along here, and I'm going to sort of try to narrate where I'm going with these pentatonics. Flat minor. Flat minor there. Okay, I like that. F minor. I told you this was going to be ugly. A flat minor. Okay, my play along ran out. You get the idea, though. I'm trying to by the fact that I'm playing these super weird wrong note things, and I need to find a way to get it to make sense, and especially to stick the landing. I used to listen to John Scofield all the time. I still listen to John Scofield all the time. But back at Berkeley, I was always amazed at his ability to play this super out stuff and close it out like a bebop guy. If you find my lesson on the 3 best notes in jazz, it's about approach patterns. Some of what I'm doing to get back in, no matter where you're at, if you play an approach pattern to a chord tone of the target chord, you stick the landing like a boss. So that's what it sounds like when I do this. I actually play it, I do 20 minutes of that. And I'm trying to find the weirdest shapes, stuff, intervallic stuff and so forth. Stuff like that. And just get my mind where I feel like I see all the possibilities, or at least more possibilities than my tired old B minor shit. So that's how I got out of my rut. I'm going to do more lessons about how to look at each of these alternate pentatonics. The one that I did on Play Like Brecker covers 2 of them, but there's a way to look at all 12 of them. So we'll do that down the road. Be sure and hit like and subscribe if these things are doing you some good. There's going to be a link down below to my Patreon as well, and I put a lot of useful stuff on there, behind the scenes tours, things, looks at my producing when I produce tracks in Logic and so forth. And I'm going to be starting my own subscription lessons service, probably in the next 3 or 4 months. So I'll be linking to that as I go. But have fun with this kind of thing. It doesn't have to be as wild as all that, but it's a good way to force yourself out of your box. It's also a great way to force yourself out of your box to play in an odd meter. And I'm going to do a lesson about that soon enough too. So I'll see you for the next one.